Okay guys, we're going to start Loops Galore. Now, my video, again, is just to help you with doing Loops Galore. Please do not copy the code that I'm about to type because I changed things. You'll notice that my menu in my code is different than the menu you need to do, which also means the coding needs to be different. However, it's going to give you an idea of how to use for loops. So Loops Galore wants you to start using for loops. What loops are is when you put a loop into a code, it's going to repeat that code. For loops are going to repeat that code for as long as there's certain values that you indicate. As soon as you're outside those values, then the looping stops and it stops repeating the code. So Loops Galore wants you to create a menu with different options that the user can choose. You've created menus before, so you should be good with that. The options, all numbers from 1 to 100. So if they choose that, the window should then display all numbers from 1 to 100, no more, no less. Second, evens from 2 to 100. So just the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way up to 100. The third option is odds from 101 to 1. Notice it's counting backwards. If you do it from 1 to 101, that's not what it's asking for. So it needs to start from 101 and then go to 99, 97, all the way down to 1. And again, guys, you're using for loops. You are not typing a cout statement with all those numbers. That's not what we're looking for here. That won't get you the grade. The fourth menu option says negative 100 to positive 100 counting by 10. So it should go from negative 100 to negative 90, negative 80, negative 70, and so forth till you get to positive 100. And then the fifth menu item is for them to choose to exit the program. So the menu items themselves are not looping. The user can still, when they run the program, they can still only pick one menu item. It'll run through that, and then the program will end. Later, you'll learn how to loop it so that the user can come back to the menu. That is not this program, though. So let's take a look. I started my code. Again, mine is not exactly the same project as yours. This is just to help you. So do not copy my code word for word. It will be wrong. So you know you need your title, your purpose, all this good stuff up here, the usual. I'm declaring whatever the menu option is that they pick. I'm also declaring a number because within my cases, it's going to be printing numbers to the screen. So I need that variable there. You can declare a different variable for each case. However, you don't need to. You can use this, the same variable throughout since there are different cases. And since we're not looping the entire program. So I changed my menu items. I have for the first option that it'll display all numbers from negative 5 to positive 20. My second menu option would be just displaying even numbers from 60 to 70. So you can see I picked a much smaller range for mine. So I'm going to have much less numbers displaying to the screen when I run it. You will have a lot more for yours. 3, odd numbers only from 7 to negative 11. Number 4, 0 to 50 counting by 5s, and then 5 is exit. I chose to put an empty line there to space out my menu from asking the user to enter a menu item, and then a CN for them to use it. This is all stuff you guys should know. Then I'm going to use a switch statement with my 5 cases. So I like to just go ahead and put a skeleton in there of what I know that I need, and then I can fill things in. That's up to you how you want to approach that. And I know I'm going to need my return 0 down here, so I can put that in. So case 5, I don't need to do anything there to show you. You guys are very capable of, if they pick case 5, that it should exit the program with the cout statement. So I'm not going to fill that in. We're going to take a look at these 1 through 4 and how we can use for loops. So if I come to case 1, I'm going to use a for loop and use the word for. And then I'm going to indicate a for loop for what? Well, we're talking about my number. So my for loop is when my number equals negative 5. Oops, put some spaces in here, make this look a little better. So when my number equals -5 up until, so when my number is less than or equal to 20, because I want it running from -5 up through and equal to 20. Now I need to tell it what it's progressing at. Well, you guys already learned in an earlier project how to increment and decrement. Well, I want it increasing by ones because that's what I wanted to count from, by ones. So I'm going to say number plus plus because I want it to increment. So there's my for loop. Now the loop is in the code. I need something to print to the screen. So I'm going to put a cout statement. And just for spacing and niceness, I'm going to do a blank line first so that it's separate from my menu choice. And then I'm going to do cout number and another end line. So let's see what this looks like. So if I go to start without debugging and I pick my case 1, what I'm looking for is for it to show all my whole numbers between -5 and 20. And it's doing that, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, okay? So you can see I have this spaced out. Like I said, you're going to have many more numbers included there. So maybe you don't want to put that end out. Maybe you don't want that extra space in there. So you don't need to have it. That's just a choice that you can make. You can play around with your formatting and see what you like there. So that's how to increment by 1. Step 2 says evens from 60 to 70. Well, I only want my even numbers now. So in case 2, I'm going to go ahead and do another for loop and my parenthesis and indicate what values I want it to be. So when my number equals, and I said from 60 to 70, so when it starts at 60 up until less than or equal to 70. So I want it to go from 60 up until 70. And now we know how to increment, but we know how to increment by 1. So now I'm going to put an equation in here because I want it to go by something other than 1. So I want my number to equal my number and then each time adding 2 because that's how I get to the next even number. I add 2 each time. So each time it's going to take my number, it's going to add 2, and then print that to the screen. And then it's going to take that number, add 2 again, and print the new number to the screen. That's what this loop is saying. Again, I need my cout statement so that actually something prints to the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and just print this without my end L's, and let's see what that looks like. So number, end L. So you see, I'm not putting this first end L line there. And let's run it and see what it looks like, listing our even numbers from 60 to 70. Menu option 2. And there you see that they're not spaced out quite the same. They don't have that end L in between. Okay? Again, that's just a preference thing. But I have my 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70. No more, no less. Those are my even numbers between 60 and 70. So that looks good. My case 3. I'm going to put a for statement in here. And I want my odds from 7 to -11. So for number equal to, I want to start at 7. And I want to go until -11. Now you have to be careful here because -11 is smaller than where I started. I want to go up until the -11. So I want it to be greater than or equal to negative 11. If I say less than or equal to negative 11, that's not going to work because then we're outside the range rather than in between those numbers. Do my semicolon, and I want my odd numbers. So I'm going to take my number equal to number, and since I'm starting with an odd, if I add 2, I'd stay with an odd. However, we're going backwards. We're starting at positive 7 and we want to go down to negative 11. So I don't want to add 2. I want to subtract 2 in order to get to the next odd number. And again, I need my cout statement or nothing's going to print to the screen. So let's try case 3. And if this works correctly, you should start at 7 and do all the odd numbers counting down to negative 11. So 7, 5, 3, 1, negative 1, negative 3, negative 5, negative 7, negative 9, and negative 11. So that worked. And case 4, oops. Okay, so case 4, I'm going to do another for loop. And I need to see what I wrote up here. So 0 to 50 by 5s. So we're going to take my number equal 0, and I want to go up until and including, so less than and equal to 50, right? That's what I said, 0 to 50, and I want to count by 5s. Well, think about how you count. When I count by 5s, the way I get to the next number is by adding 5. If I were counting down by 5s, then I would subtract 5, but I'm counting up from 0 to 50, so I'm adding 5. And I'll do my cout statement, and if you notice by now, it's been the same cout statement because I'm using the same variable. It makes it easier. If you're using a different variable for each case, then you're going to have to type new stuff in here. So let's go ahead and take a look at case number 4. And when I run this, it should show 0 to 50, counting by 5s. So very good. That should definitely help you to get through this project. Again, make sure you're not following this menu that I showed you in this video. Follow the project menu, and you're going to have to tweak the code to fit that. Any questions? Let me know. Have fun.